So our topic today is we are continuing on with our OEM-specific training series, and today's subject topic would be Hyundai and Kia. Since Hyundai and Kia are very closely intertwined, they share a lot of components across them, and we'll talk about how intertwined they are here when we go through the history a bit. So Hyundai was founded by Chung-Ju Young in 1947 as Hyundai Engineering and Construction Company. May have noticed as we go through a lot of these Asian manufacturers, both Korean and Japanese, that a lot of them start off as like heavy industry, and they still do a lot of heavy industry too. I mean, you've seen a Hyundai steam shovel before, so I mean, they still do that type of thing. But they branch out into cars. So here we go, Hyundai Motors, the automotive arm there, was established in 1967. The first vehicle sold was the Cortina, and that was in conjunction with Ford at the time. Their first all-original model that they designed and built was the Pony in 1975, and the first U.S. model was the Hyundai Excel in 1986. And I remember seeing those around. There's probably still a few of them around out there, a little tiny little thing, a little hatchback usually. And this is the Pony over here. You can see it's the Pony 2 there. So that was their original model that they produced, right? In 1998, they kind of took it upon themselves, and they wanted to focus on making their company a world-class brand. They wanted to compete with the likes of Toyota and Ford and GM and whoever. So also in 1998, Hyundai purchased 51% of Kia Motors. I guess probably kind of to that end of conglomerating and such. In 1999, just 1 year after they made that decision, they introduced the 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, which they still have to this day out there. So it is one of the best warranties in the industry. In 2011, they became the world's fourth largest automaker behind GM, VW, and Toyota. So I guess they had risen to that level of that world-class brand. Now, they spun off their Genesis model, so their higher-end model that they had up until then was called the Hyundai Genesis, and they spun it off into its own brand in 2015, launching with the G80 and the G90 in 2017. And I will tell you, we have a training center in Dallas, at the Hilton and Grapevine, near the airport. And we were there 1 week doing some training, and sure enough, that's when they were rolling out the Genesis brand to their dealership. So there were a lot of dealers there. They had some Genesis cars there. They also had BMWs and Mercedes there, and they were using that as a comparison. So they were trying to compare that Genesis brand and compete with Mercedes, BMW, and the like back then. Looking at them, they look pretty nice. Never had an occasion to drive one, so I don't know how they compare. But yeah, that is their competition now with that Genesis brand. So really, it's Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis are all kind of one and the same all together, share a lot of componentry and so on. So let's look at the sales numbers and the top models that Hyundai and Kia have. So this is over the last 10 years or so, 2013 to 2023 is what we have numbers for. Number one, far and away, is the Sonata. So the Hyundai Sonata, 1.4 million over that time. Then the Santa Fe, and then the Soul. So the Soul had to be the first Kia on the list. And then a Kia Forte, Kia Optima. Looks like a lot more Kias selling than Hyundais. I guess overall volume, maybe not so much. But 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, the next bunch are all Kias, right? Kia Sportage, Kia Telluride, and then a Hyundai Kona. So yeah, Kia's really kind of come up and into its own too. I remember that used to be kind of the lower end. Well, Hyundai used to be the lower end too, right? And then Kia was kind of the lower end of Hyundai, and they've all kind of came up together. I've had a couple for rentals lately, and not too bad, pretty impressive. So a grand total of over 8 million vehicles sold in that 10 years, and that is just North America, by the way. I'm sure they sell way more overseas and over in Europe and such. So a couple representative models in there. So in North America, the high water mark for the Sonata, the number one seller for them, was 2014. So this 2014 Sonata was the 6th generation of the Sonata. Available with 2-liter and 2.4-liter GDI engines, also a 2.4-liter hybrid available. Could come with a 6-speed automatic or manual transmission. And it was the last year of this generation. The next year it was a facelift redesign, so to say. And it was also sold by Kia as the Sorento. So Sonata and Sorento. Next one's a 2016 Santa Fe. So number 2 sales on the list was the Santa Fe. And with this, that was the 3rd generation. It was only available with a 3.3-liter GDI engine in the US. In Canada, it also had available a 2-liter turbo engine. 6-speed automatic or manual transmissions once again. Also available in a longer wheelbase XL version. So it would be a Santa Fe XL. They also have a Santa Fe Sport, which was smaller. And it was sold by Kia as the Sorento. Oh. That one got copied. So, one of those is a Sorento. I have to fix that for the next class. 2015 Kia Soul was the next representative there. So that's the 2nd generation of the Soul. I remember when these came out with the hamsters bumping to their music, right? So it's the 2nd generation of the Kia Soul, available the 1.6 or 2-liter GDI engines, 6-speed automatic or manual transmissions. You're seeing a theme here, right? A lot of these engines are shared across platforms, across brands, and 6-speed automatic or manual. They're going to be pretty much the same across the brand as well. Some common issues that we may run into on a Hyundai. By and large, fairly reliable considering that 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But often misfire issues, knock sensor issues in a way, and engine bearing issues on some of the engines as well. So we'll get into that a little bit as we go through this. Common codes. So these are based off of the scan tool usage and what are the common codes that show up on these vehicles. And you will see where I came up with, hey, we got a lot of knock sensor issues, is this. Knock signal range and performance. It's all mainly on the 2.4-liter engine. Camshaft position actuator circuit as well. And then knock signal again, CAT code, cylinder 3 misfire. Alternator code, interestingly enough, on the 2-liter on Elantra. Generator field F terminal. And then cylinder 4 misfire. So the top 4 out of the top 6 codes are that knock sensor code. And we're going to get into that in a little bit because there is actually a bulletin on it. And come to find out, it might not be quite what we expect. Some OEM-specific features when it comes to Hyundai. They're fairly utilitarian, pedestrian, I guess you might say. They do have a lot of bells and whistles inside on the interior. I know I just had one a little while ago and for a rental, and it had cameras and video screens like everywhere. It had a heads-up display, had all sorts of fancy doodads. Honestly, I think it's a little distracting, but you get used to it after a little while. But I will say Hyundai was an early adopter of modern GDI engines. GDI engines have been around for a little while, so that's why I say modern GDI engines. They introduced their 2.4-liter Theta 2 engine in November 2009, so that was their first GDI engine, and GDI really wasn't all that widespread around that time. They borrowed the technology from Mitsubishi, who used the technology in 1996, and they actually trademarked the term GDI in 2001. So this is borrowed from Mitsubishi. Their first GDI was way back in the 90s, right around OBD2 era. So that's really what they've been known for, plus, I guess their warranty and such, but fairly solid, not a lot of oddball technology like we might talk about from some other manufacturers there. They really went with the GDI, but I will note that it seems like they didn't really adopt much for CVTs, at least for a good run there. Now let's go to tips from a tech. So this is where I come up with that knock sensor code, right? So P1326 is the code. It applies to many 2-liter and 2.4-liter engines from 2011 to 2019 model years. We'll see here it's 2011 to 14 Sonata, 15 to 19 Sonata, 13 to 18 Santa Fe Sport, 19 Santa Fe, 2014 to 15 Tucson, et cetera, right? So applicable vehicles, a 2-liter turbo GDI and 2.4-liter GDI engines may experience a check engine warning lamp illuminated with this DTC 1326, and/or engine may exhibit abnormal noise or no crank, no start condition. Follow the procedure to inspect the vehicle and replace the engine or update the engine ECU software based on inspection results. So that just goes on through there. So you go through the inspection process. It will either get a reflash, possibly a new sensor, but it's most likely not. And then a new engine is probably more likely because they had some bearing issues and it would cause rod knock. And then the vehicle would think that it's actually the knock sensor when it really wasn't. So you go through the whole inspection process, inspect the engine, may come to find out that it needs an engine. So that's just kind of an issue with that particular era of their GDI engines. Also, I thought this was very interesting. Service action bulletin, front outer door handle software update. So you may need to the software on the driver or passenger front outer door handles on certain 2023 and 2024 Telluride vehicles, because they have a capacitive touch function on the door handle, and you need to update the software that runs that. It actually has a special box that you need to use to interface with it. You have to pop the door handle off. You have to plug a bunch of stuff in. It's kind of wild. If you read this bulletin, it's very interesting to me that is something that would need to be done. And you cannot do it just with a regular like pass-through device. You need a special interface box in order to even communicate with the door handle. So I thought that was just kind of wild with how that works. So there's some interesting tidbits there. Let's talk about OEM-specific scan tool related functions. So, like I said, GDI really big with them. So there's a GDI fuel leak test, which will actually go through and functionally check the GDI fuel system for leaks. There is a cylinder power balance test in there that'll help you diagnose misfires. And there's also a PCM lock setting in there to help you lock and unlock the PCM in there. Well, we can actually I think we can take a decent look at that in a little bit when we go on the Santa Fe there. Transmission, there's an AAT adaptation mode. You know, a lot of transmissions nowadays with the adaptable shift pattern learning and such. It has a mode to do that. So it's a learning process for oil pressure adaptation of the automatic transaxle. If you replace the TCU, if you replace the transmission assembly, or if you need to reset the transmission values for anything, you can walk through that mode and it'll help you do that. Other tests that's in there, there's a bunch of other tests in there. But motor-driven power steering test I thought was kind of interesting too. So that's it. It's got electronic power steering or electric power steering. So there is a test for that. And that was way back in 2014 that they had that available. So some things are a little ahead of their time. And now basically every vehicle's got electric power steering, and gasoline direct injection engine. So with that, let's go live on the tool and see what we can see. All right, first one I'll pull up is the Sonata. All right, so that is a let's go into engine and take a look at a couple things. So one other thing I'd like to note too, we've mentioned it on, say, Toyota, but Hyundai also has integrated freeze frame data too. So I can go in there under freeze frame data and I can actually pull up the freeze frame from the code screen, and I don't have to go into my mode 9 or my mode my freeze frame data on my, what am I saying, OBD2. My OBD2 freeze frame data. I don't have to go in there and do that. I can do that directly from the vehicle side there. Let's go to functional tests. There's some engine off tests, engine running tests. So if I go in there, I think I got to go into engine running tests. See if it pulls it up. No, it gives me an error. All right. Sometimes the simulator does that. All right, system tests. We got resetting adaptives, VIN read and write, evap monitor test. There's that GDI fuel leak test that I talked about. So you can go in there and got to be at idle, above 75 degrees Celsius, transmission and parker neutral, parking brake on. Not sure how far I can go in this. So it's good. It's going to automatically function through the test. So you'd have to make sure the engine was at idle. In this case, of course, we're simulating it, so we can't get that far. But it's going to give us our leaks, status, etc. Cylinder power balance test as well. So it automatically collects the speed of the crankshaft for 30 seconds and calculates each cylinder average speed and displays it. A low reading can be caused by compression, fuel, or spark concerns. So you'd have to crank the engine, and then it'll give you a readout. Can't do that all the way in simulator either. Let's see. And let's go to transmission too. There's a system test. There's that adaptation mode and resetting the transmission values as well. So the adaptation mode goes through. It's going to check for DTCs. And then we can go in and do that. Run it into adaptation mode. All right, let's go take a look at some SureTrack data too. Switch to GLS. Let's see if it got the right engine for me. Should have. Oh, yeah, 2.4 liter engine. So this was a very popular vehicle, very popular engine package as well. 614,728 repairs on it. Number one code, cylinder 4 misfire, cylinder 3 misfire. Let's see, fuel rail pressure. That's interesting. So that might help you. The GDI leak test might help you with that one. Cam position, thermostat. There's that 1326. That's that NOx sensor code. So if we go in there, and there's that TSB, right? For engine control. Let me go a little further into that. So you gotta drain the oil if necessary. Parts warranty. Let's go to process. Here's the flow chart, right? So you're gonna check the ID of the ROM in the vehicle, see if it needs a flash. If it does have it, you're gonna go a little further and check the engine. Is there external engine? Is there external? Do I have oil on the dipstick? Drain engine, crankshaft rotate, etc. So a lot of different things to do. And it seems like more than likely it is not the NOx sensor. I think that's the least likely scenario. I think it seems most likely that the engine needs to be replaced. Let's see. Yeah. So it seems to be the least likely option that you would need to replace the NOx sensor. And interestingly enough, the top repair is replace the NOx sensor, because we know how some people can just say, well, it's a NOx sensor code, let's replace the NOx sensor. But you'll also notice that reprogram the powertrain control module and replace the engine assembly is also in there. So they are possibilities. So I just found that interesting. Pads and rotors starter, that seems absurdly high for that. Headlight bulb, yeah, a lot of those seem fairly normal for that. All right, 14 Sonata. Let's go to our Santa Fe. And I think on this one, it allows me to do some stuff. Engine, system tests. That's going to have that PCM lock setting. So PCM attached to this vehicle is set to lock before being delivered to the customer. This is done to not allow the changing of data or programs in the PCM without any permission of the manufacturer. After replacing the PCM in the workshop, the test will only run once on a new PCM. Test will fail on all PCMs whose MEC has already been set to on. So this is to unlock the PCM after it's done. And then you can confirm it after the fact. So it's going to tell you whether it's off or on. And then that resets it. Not sure if this ends or just stays hanging up. Give it a second. Once again, simulator. All right, yeah, we'll abort that. It's probably hung up. Back in here. On this one, it's also going to have the steering. So motor-driven power steering test right in there. So I need to make sure the tire pressure is correct. And then we're going to go through this, go through the whole inspection. And in this case, it finds a DTC, so it fails. Once again, simulator. But that's kind of how you would walk through that. All right, let's see SureTrack. All right, 76,000 repairs. EVAP number one on this one. Post-catalyst fuel trim systems, 2098 and 2096. That's on that 3.3 liter engine. Cam position codes. Cylinder 6, cylinder 4 misfire. A lot of misfires and cam position codes, and then this fuel trim. A lot of times that's oxygen sensor, but let's see that. Yep, no bulletins on it either. So fuel trim's too lean. Sometimes it ends up being a reflash for some of these. Other times it's a lot of times it's a sensor, oxygen sensor for that. Subaru had a lot of problems with those too. Let's see, pads, rotors, AC refrigerant line, and AC refrigerant. Holy cow, that's pretty high. Let's see if there's any TSBs on AC. Yeah. No, nothing special though. Leak check procedure is all that is. So it doesn't seem like there's a high enough incidence of it where they actually had a TSB for it, but that seems very high. Refrigerant lines breaking. Calipers, tie rods, brake rotors, alternators, timing chains. Nothing really. AC and op right there. So AC problem, AC problem, AC problem. Looks like we got some AC problems. All right, and then lastly, we will go with our Kia. On this one, once again, shares engines, transmissions, and such. But let's see, reset adaptives in the engine, freeze frame once again added in there. Functional tests, I'm not sure if that's going to allow me to go through. I don't think so. Yeah. Simulator doesn't allow it. Yep, runs an error. Transmission. Going to have that resetting values again. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, occupant detection system. That's kind of important. So you have to reset the seat if you do any sort of resets, or if you do any sort of body sensor reset. In this case, resolve the failure in the seat. Seat has to be in a certain position, and then basically just resets it back to 0. Sure track. It's kind of funny. I went in there and for a second I thought this was like an error on the website, but it's like, oh yeah, that's right. So the Kia Soul had an exclamation mark model and a plus model. Just do an exclamation mark. All right, 86,000 repairs on that one. Pads, rotors, spark plugs, coils, calipers. That seems all pretty. AC refrigerant on the top 10 though. Misfire. Lots of misfires, evaps. I mean, that's all pretty standard stuff on most vehicles. There's that 1326 code again. Right, and that 2-liter engine. Engine problems on those. Crank position sensor, oil leaks, AC and op. Engine lacks power. That could be due to that knock sensor code too. So yeah, a few common problems there. So that is Hyundai and Kia. A little short. Not a ton I don't think to talk about on that. So let's talk about Thursday, actually. Thursday, we have something to talk about too. Because the new software has started rolling out already. If you have a software subscription, you may have the new software already. It started rolling out kind of we roll it out in bits and chunks so we don't overwhelm the servers. But like late last week, I think it started rolling out to some tools. And I've seen some people post on Facebook today that they've had some. They had their update already available on their tools. So we're going to talk about that on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be one on Thursday, September 26th. So if you want to watch live, you would have to check and find the link for the Zoom because I don't have it here. But we will be broadcasting it on YouTube as well, on the YouTube channel. So it's youtube.com/Snap-on Diagnostics, all one word. So you can check it out over there. We will be live streaming it there as well. So it's going to be Thursday, September 26th. And if you miss it, we'll do a replay the following Wednesday and then the following Monday after that. So we just kind of do Thursday, Wednesday, Monday, week after week after week. So I'll be reminding you again about it a little bit later. But the first one is going to be on Thursday night. So if you want to learn what's in the new software update, that's where you want to be, because I'm going to talk about it. And then next week, next Tuesday, as always, we will be discussing TPMS testing and repair. There's been some changes and improvements to TPMS since the last time we talked about it a couple years ago. So we're going to revisit it again. If you want to learn more about it, come join me 6 and 9 Eastern every Tuesday. If you want to join on Zoom, go to snapon.com/OT and sign up over there. Otherwise, the 6 p.m. class goes live to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Snap-on Diagnostics, and the 9 p.m. Eastern class goes live to my Facebook page, Facebook.com/snap-on-Jason, all one word, and go check it out there. If you want to see any of the other past topics in this series, anywhere from ADAS to modern ignition system testing and everything we've covered in between over the last almost 4 years. This is episode 96 right now. Go check it out on the YouTube channel. There is a playlist for live training. You scan that QR code, it'll bring you to the page and it'll automatically subscribe you as well. So it's youtube.com/snap-on-diagnostics. It's all available for free. They're all about half hour, 40 minutes long. Kind of depends on the content, depends on the questions we get. So definitely worth your time, I think. Free training is always good. It's always good to have as much training as you possibly can, especially with the way diagnostics changes throughout this modern times here. So, also, do we have your email address? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. If you don't see any emails from us, we probably don't. But you are missing out on some valuable, also technical diagnostics related content. So technical focus articles, SureTrack blogs, quick tips, new product release announcements. The software seminar that I did, they sent out a release on that. They also send out my schedule periodically. So if you want access to that, just scan this QR code and it'll bring you to a form. You can punch in your information and then you'll start getting these articles and quick tips and so on. Here's an example one with timing chain, right? How to diagnose a stretched timing chain, right? So all valuable stuff. So they're not going to spam me with a bunch of sales stuff or anything like that. So definitely check it out. Now it's time for questions. Once again, if you do have questions on Zoom, just find that Q&A button, top or bottom of your screen, type it in. If you're joining on YouTube, make sure you use that live chat function as well. Looks like we're pretty laggy on YouTube tonight as well. So I know there's usually like a 20-second delay. Also want to remind you of our new product training that Keith does as well. So that is free. So that is on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So Wednesday is on Zeus and Zeus Plus, and Thursday is on Apollo and Triton tools because they share a lot of software. Those are at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, 4:30 Pacific. It's kind of designed to have the tool in front of you, so it is Zoom only. So it's snapon.com/OT. That way you can go in, you can ask them questions. You can kind of navigate through the tool as Keith navigates through the tool as well. The first hour is going to be setup functions, scanner functions, walks you through soup to nuts on fast track intelligent diagnostics. And then he takes about a 5-minute break. And then after that, he goes through all the scope and meter functions on the respective tools as well. It is a very thorough class. Good intro to the tool, good refresher if you need that as well. And like I said, he does it every week. Wednesday's on Zeus, Zeus Plus. Thursday is on Apollo and Triton. Hopefully we'll see you there as well. So time for questions. Looks like we're pretty quiet on Zoom tonight. That's okay. I'm just going to do a quick homework check because I got people in class tonight. Making sure they all showed up. Looks like most of them did. All right, let's go over to YouTube. Dan Cujo says hello. Joshua says hello as well. Kinkin says hello. JLE Lobo checking in and saying hello as well. Ivan Salazar saying hello. Nick from the UK. It's 11 o'clock over there. Get some sleep. But he is checking in and saying hello. Kenny Harvey from Canada is saying hello as well. Nick says, thank you very much for the free training. Let's see. Nick also says problems he has anyways with Hyundai vehicles, ABS and engine problems. Once again, we get to that engine problem again. Not more than 200,000 miles on them. There you go. Loki Black says thanks as well. Let's see. Enjoy your weekend. Can't wait for the next training. Nick is being very active tonight, so thank you for that, Nick. Sure, that helps the algorithm out as well. So, you know, we gotta have as much help as we can get with that silly algorithm on YouTube. So with that, looks like that closes out the questions. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. Hopefully we learned a few little tips and tidbits on Hyundais and Kias. Hopefully you'll join me next week for TPMS. With that, enjoy the rest. Oh, and hopefully you'll join me Thursday for our software class as well. I'm going to teach you what all is going on with the new software. So with that, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully we'll see you on Thursday. Have a good night and take care.